Give a little demo on how to change the oil, just because not all of you are going to be able to bring vehicles in, so just so you know how to do it. What's the very first thing that I would do before I even get out of the cab?
Pop the hood. Turn it off.
This one. Oh yeah, you turn it off.
Let it cool down.
Let it cool down is a good idea, but it's actually better to change your oil when it's a little bit warm or almost hot. It gets more of the sediments out. Something else is very, very simple, and it doesn't have to be done, but it's just kind of a pet peeve that I have. No, I don't care about that either. What I'm getting at is to pull your keys. Why? Because even the best mechanics make simple mistakes. You get in there, you forget that you haven't put your oil in, you turn it over, and your engine's done for. So I always pull my keys, put them in my pocket. Just it makes me think whether I put oil in it or not, because sometimes you get distracted, you're not focusing right. You get in your vehicle, you start it up, and it's shot. So pull your keys and make sure it's in park. Put it in a gear just so it doesn't roll away when you're underneath it. It kind of hurts. Okay, what do I do next?
Crawl underneath and take the drain plug out.
Okay. You can crawl underneath, take the drain plug out, and you can also take off the filter. This one's got a side filter on it, so you can actually take that one off from the top, which is really nice. This is an old 300 6-cylinder Ford engine, and very reliable, very easy to work with, so it's not too bad. Now we're going to give a short little demonstration on something else to do. Changing your oil is easy. There's some other things that you should look at when you're under a hood. So I need a volunteer. Easiest thing you'll ever do. There you go. This is a jug of Miracle Juice. Go ahead and take it. It won't hurt you. I've got a corroded battery cable right there. I'd like to get that taken care of. I've already made a pre-mixed batch of baking soda and water. So go ahead and just pour some on.
How much did you put in there?
It's about a tablespoon and a half. See how it kind of foams up like that? And that's an acid-base reaction. It kind of takes care of the acid really quick. It's one of the best, cheapest ways. You can buy all the fancy stuff to take care of it, but it works really well to do it like that. Yeah, go ahead and you can just clear this stuff off the back of the battery and the side. The water will take care of it. Yeah, go ahead and do that one too. There we go. Good enough for now. The rest of that we can clean up. It's probably crusted on there pretty good. That one was pretty bad. Okay, now if we move around to the back. Well, not back yet. What is this right here?
That one thing.
It is that one thing.
Pump. It's a fluid in
It's a pump.
transmission or clutch or something.
Yep. This is where you put your brake and clutch fluid. It goes right in here. A lot of times these get stuck on. What this actually is Ford used a lot of old like canning jar caps, and that's exactly what it was. They set these on there. This is a cheap, effective way to make a cap for it. That's where you put your brake fluid. Works your clutch slave cylinder too. So you should always top that off. Make sure you don't get any dirt in there because it's really sensitive. This is your fuel filter here right on top of your fuel pump. There's a lot of different places where you can find fuel filters. Some of them are inline, so they'll actually be in the fuel line. Some of them are in the tank. Some of them, they come right up here and they screw into the carburetor, but there's a lot of different ones. And it's a good idea to change that every once in a while. You'll notice if it starts to go bad just because it'll be a lot more sluggish response. It'll misfire, it'll die on you when you're going down the road, things like that. And you said your fuel pump's going out. So it's probably kind of the same thing.
Fuel filter last year though, still this didn't make a difference.
Interesting. Okay, who wants to check the radiator? Different volunteer this time. There you go. Yep, you just push in on it, give it a turn. It should pop right off the top. And if you can see fluid in there, you're usually good. Sometimes it's deceiving, you won't see fluid, but it really isn't that low. It's only about a pint low. You'll put the water hose in there for a second and I mean it's right back to the top. So it's not that big of a deal just as long as you can see it in there and it looks green. If you want to check for the temperature, we don't have one here right now I don't think, but you need to use a coolant checker. And it's got that little float bubble in it that tells you what temperature it's good to. So you can go ahead and put the cap back on. How about oil level? The dipstick on this is kind of hidden just a little bit, so who wants to do that for me? No volunteers? It's not that bad.
Each task gets more difficult, so you may want to volunteer
It does.
early.
You might want to volunteer early before you're actually underneath it. Go for it. I know you can find it. I can see it right from where I'm sitting. It's hard to see it from the front though. Come around this side. See the little round pull lever? There you go. Some of them are very difficult to find. I don't have a rag, but let's just take a look and see what it says. Okay, this one was just recently running, so the oil goes right up clear. But where it starts to get thick again, we're right on full, so that's good.
There you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it. But these are really hard to find sometimes. If you look hard enough, you'll usually find a yellow handle. This one's not painted or anything because this thing was made before they had the color yellow. But if you look on most of the newer ones, they did have red. But they'll have a yellow handle on them, and that's your identifying sign. Sometimes you got to dig and move some wires around. It's like you're an archaeologist to find this dang thing on some of the newer ones. But that's how you check that. And if you look here, you'll see your add and full. Usually that distance between the add and full is 1 quart of oil. So if you're on add a quart, so on. Is it a good idea to overfill them?
No.
What happens?
Like too much oil pressure.
It can cause too much oil pressure, and it's really not good for the engine just because, you know, you have that much extra oil pressure in your engine and increases your combustion, things like, or not combustion, but compression. So, yeah, you can blow your seals that way too. So you should always have it on full. If your vehicle burns a lot of oil or has a real bad leak, it's all right to usually add a quart, just so long as you don't add more than a quart over full. Okay, now we're going to move around to the back. Most of your pickups probably won't have this, but we have a handy dandy hoist on this thing, so it works really nice. How would I check my rear end?
Plug up the side and dip your pinky in this side plug.
This one doesn't have a side plug on it. This one's got a plug in a different spot. See if you can find it. You might have to crouch down and look around a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I think it might be right there. That's right here, isn't it?
Yep, so there's a plug right on the back of the fan. And to check that, it's usually 3/8, just a 3/8 drive. But this one, it looks like it's about, maybe a 3/4 inch wrench. And you just unscrew that, stick your finger in there, and if you can get oil right at the top, you'll be able to feel it. You just pull your finger out, look at it. If it's really, really dark, really, really black, you might want to change it. But other than that, it's usually good for quite a long time. It's the same concept with your transmission. It's under there, and I don't want anybody to have to crawl under there today in your nice fancy clothes. But with that, there's usually 2 plugs. If you unscrew the bottom one, what happens? Yeah, it all comes out. That's your drain. The top one's to check it. So you do the same thing with that. You just unscrew it, stick your finger in there, look at it, give it a little smell. If it smells like bad, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. You'll just have to get some practice. But
Burnt.
It'll be pretty hot if it has been around. So you want to be careful on some of these hot things. Plus, it's usually right down there by the exhaust, and it's really easy to burn your forearms on that when you're under there digging around. So be careful when you're under there. And it's usually pretty dirty too, so it gives a good chance for infection. So be wary of that. Okay, that's good.